Come closer, one ditch you. There's room enough on this dock, and the boards are still warm from the day's sun. I've made a space beside me, just here, where the lantern's light brushes against the wood like honey on stone. You'll find no need for shoes or sword tonight, my dear companion. Only stillness, only breath, only the water and the quiet, and time itself uncoiling like a ribbon in the dark. "I'm glad you came. Truly, there's something about this hour that draws out the deeper kind of thoughts, don't you find? The lake listens well, better than most people do. And tonight, well, tonight it feels as though even the moon has slowed its climb, just to linger a while longer in the sky. You hear that? The water lapping gently against the posts below us. That rhythm, it's ancient, older than any tale I've ever told. It comforts me, like an old friend humming a lullaby through the hush. It asks nothing of us, offers no judgment. It simply moves, steady and soft. My sword rests here on my knees, but you needn't mind it. It holds no menace. Not anymore. I bring it now only as a token of the life I've walked through, not the one I chase. You see, there comes a time when the blade is no longer part of the battle, but part of the memory. I touch it now and again, not out of readiness, but reverence, as one might hold a worn letter or an old photograph. Yes, like that. Do you feel the wood beneath us? Weathered smooth by seasons and souls and salt. It creaks sometimes, as if exhaling. This dock was already old when I first found it, many years ago. It's kind of it to still hold me. Kind of you too. Lean back if you'd like. Let your shoulders fall. Let the air around you carry some of the weight. There's no need to speak. I'll do the talking tonight, and only softly. The night is not for declarations, but for invitations, and I invite you to rest. The lantern beside us glows just enough. I like that it flickers a little. It makes the shadows dance across the water, makes everything feel as though it's breathing. Even the lake, even the trees far off where the wind barely stirs the leaves, all of it breathing together. You'll find the stars tonight have taken their time arriving. They're late, perhaps, but no less welcome. Look out there. See how the sky folds into the water without a seam. It's as though the heavens have stooped to meet the earth, just for a little while, just for us. If you listen carefully, you might hear the low murmur of frogs in the reeds. Not loudly, no, just a thread of sound winding through the hush. I like to think they're talking among themselves about nothing urgent, the way old friends do when the night grows deep and the world grows kind. You're safe here, my friend, not just from harm, there is no harm nearby, but safe in the way that lets your thoughts drift without worry. You may close your eyes if you'd like, or leave them open and watch the way the lantern light shimmers. There is no wrong way to be here. There is only now and quiet, and this moment we share. Do you remember what it feels like to be utterly still? Not the kind of stillness that waits for something to happen, but the kind that simply is. That's what this place offers. That's why I return. Not to remember who I was, but to remember how it feels to stop moving. Sometimes, when I sit here long enough, I think I can feel the heartbeat of the lake. Not with my hands, nor with my ears, but somewhere deeper, in the spaces between thoughts, in the soft space behind my ribs. And when I sit here, sword idle, lantern lit, and you beside me, I think, perhaps, this is what peace was always meant to feel like. So stay with me a while longer, will you? Just until the moon climbs a little higher. Let the night hold you gently. Let your breath come slow. You've arrived at the edge of the world's hurry, And here at the water's edge, there is nothing left to chase. Just stillness, just the soft glow of the lantern. Let your eyes drift, my friend. No need to fix them on anything in particular, just let them wander. The lake has a way of settling one's gaze, don't you think? Even the stars seem to soften when they see themselves mirrored in its surface. Still as glass it is, yet not without life. Beneath, there's always motion, slow, silent, sure, just like thought, just like breath. Watch how the ripples cradle the lantern's glow. It's a gentle sort of trembling, not enough to break the image entirely, but enough to remind you that everything, even peace, has movement. Fish pass now and then, and when they do, the reflection bends a little, like the lake is smiling in its sleep. The color of the water changes with the sky. Right now, it's the deep blue of old velvet, just touched with silver from the moon. When I was young, I used to think the lake drank the sky each night. Now, I think it's more a quiet agreement between them. The sky lends its face, and the lake returns stillness. The air is soft tonight. You feel that? It wraps around us like a worn cloak, one that's known seasons and sorrow but was never cast aside. It smells of moss and bark, of stone warmed by sun and cooled again by dusk. There's a faint sweetness to it too, wild mint perhaps, or the pale flowers that grow between the rocks near the bank. They're shy little things, blooming only when no one's looking. You might hear the reeds across the water now. They speak in whispers, rustling against each other with the rhythm of something ancient, like lullabies passed from reed to reed, sung only for those patient enough to sit and listen. They rustle not out of restlessness, but simply because the wind wants to greet them, nothing more. Just beyond them, if you listen with your ears half closed, you might catch the low hoot of an owl. It doesn't call to warn or to startle, only to mark the hour as its own. Owls understand the weight of silence. They move through it, like monks through a cloister, graceful, reverent, undisturbed. Look at the rocks lining the shore, dark and worn, some of them speckled with moss that glows ever so faintly in the lantern light. They hold the warmth of the sun long after it has set, as though they too are reluctant to let the day go. I've sat on those stones before, boots off, feet dangling in the shallows, letting the memory of heat ease old aches. And this dock, well, these timbers have stories of their own. Listen close, and they creak when they breathe. The long, slow exhale beneath you. They were set here long ago by hands no one remembers, but hearts still benefit from. Worn smooth by time, polished not with oil, but with years of quiet feet and still company. It's one of the few places I know where everything is allowed to simply be. See how the lantern casts its little golden circle. It doesn't reach far, but it doesn't need to. Just enough to see your hands, my face, the shimmer of your boots if you glance down, and the rest, the shadows and the darkened shapes. They don't threaten, they only remind us of how soft the light is. And then, there are the fireflies. Do you see them, floating here and there like the lake's own dreams, come to life for just a moment? No rush to their path, no order, just a gentle kind of wandering. I like to think they're the thoughts the lake doesn't say aloud. Sometimes I speak to them without words, just a smile or the quiet gratitude of someone who remembers what wonder feels like. You don't outgrow wonder, you know, not truly. It's only that the world forgets to whisper softly enough for us to hear it. But places like this, they remember. The trees lining the far edge beyond the reeds, their shapes lean in slightly as if listening. I once believed they bowed in greeting, though now I suspect they're simply resting, like we are. Their leaves don't rustle much tonight, just the occasional sigh, like they're stretching out beneath the stars. And those stars, they've begun to crowd in now. First a few, then a dozen, then too many to count. Some flicker like they're deciding whether to stay. Others burn steady, distant and loyal. I often wonder if they recognize this lake, if in their long watching they note the moments when a lantern is lit and a night returns home to stillness. You see, this place, this water, these stones, this quiet air, it isn't sacred because of some ancient oath or noble deed. No crown has blessed it, no scroll has named it, and yet it holds something better. It has been a place of pause, a place for souls to breathe. There is something deeply healing in the unmarked places of the world, places no one thinks to conquer or chronicle, places that simply wait and welcome, where a man can put down his blade and not be questioned, where you, my dear friend, can rest without the weight of proving anything. Time slows here, not stops, no, but it forgets to press. You feel it too, don't you? How minutes stretch like shadows across the planks. How you begin to measure the hour, not by a clock, but by the way the light shifts on the lake, or the way your own breath grows slower, more even. And all the while, the lantern glows, not as a beacon, not as a warning, but as a promise that no matter how wide the dark may stretch around us, there is always a center to return to, a warmth, a light held close, like a hand resting on yours, like a voice speaking gently in the hush. So let your shoulders fall and let this place hold you. You don't need to memorize it, just be in it. The water, the trees, the stars, they'll remember for you. And when the night grows deeper and the light softer still, we'll sit together in its quiet heart, not to chase sleep, but to welcome it. Because here, by this lake, with the lantern's flicker and the hush of reeds and owl song, sleep does not need to be summoned, only allowed. You know, there was a time I might have filled this silence with tales of battles and banners, but I've no need for that now. I sit with you here, not as a knight of renown, not as some tale-wrapped figure drawn from old parchment, but as a man who has finally and gladly laid down the need to be anything other than present. My sword lies quiet at my side. My hands, though once called to shape the course of others' lives, are content now to rest upon my knees, and my shoulders, broad still from years of wearing steel and burden, carry only the soft weight of night air. It feels good, you know, to sit like this, to lean back just a little and let the dock creak beneath me. These joints of mine, they remember much, the saddle, the stirrup, the cold weight of chain in winter, but they've grown fond of stillness too. Fond of slow moments like this, where even a breath feels full enough. My armor, I still wear it, though more out of habit than need. It's been polished recently. Did that myself, slow and careful, the way one tends to something not for show, but out of quiet respect. You'll see scratches along the arms, faint marks near the collar. Each one tells of a year past, of days I would not trade nor relive. They're not shameful things. They're the kind of scars that do not hurt anymore. When I was younger, I thought peace would feel like victory, trumpets, acclaim, a hall full of faces looking up. But this is what peace truly feels like. Sitting at the edge of water, hearing only the hush of waves and your own breath, and knowing that there's nowhere else you need to be. I haven't ridden in some time, Not from weakness, mind you. The legs still work well enough, though they creak louder than they used to. But these days, I find I prefer the pace of walking, or sitting, or simply being still like this. I used to feel a restlessness in the quiet. Now it feels like the deepest kind of balm. I come here often now. This dock, this little stretch of wood pressed out into the lake. It used to be part of a fishing village, small, humble, and full of gentle souls, folk who measured wealth by how many fish they smoked for their neighbor, or how long they could sit in each other's company without needing to speak. I would pass through often back in the days when my duties sent me riding from one edge of the realm to the other. Sometimes I'd stay a night, sometimes just long enough to share a meal and trade news by the fire. But I never forgot it. The lake, it remembered me, even when I did not return. Its shape never changed. Its voice never grew loud. It just waited. That's the kind of grace I've come to understand only with age, the kind that waits and welcomes without question. I find myself drawn here again and again now, not out of longing for the past, but out of something quieter, a recognition perhaps, a sense that here by these waters I am most truly myself, not the self made of armor and oaths, but the one that simply listens and watches and breathes. You may wonder what sort of man returns to the same place so often, even when there's no war to flee or banner to chase. I suppose the answer is a man who has learned the value of listening to the reeds, to the water, to the birds who nest near the rocks, to the parts of his soul he once kept too quiet for too long. In my youth, I was many things. I bore titles, some grand and some forgotten. I knew the ways of steel and the weight of words meant to rally or command. But no title ever brought me the kind of peace this dock offers. No triumph ever stilled me the way this night does. And that sips why hasn't been glad you Esther here. It means something to share this stillness. Not every companion is meant to walk beside you when the horns are loud and the road uncertain. Some are meant to sit with you when the lantern's glow is low and the world has gone quiet. You, my dear friend, are such a companion. It's odd how the years soften the edges of things. In memory, all the sharpness wears smooth. What once felt urgent now feels distant. And what once seemed small, a shared cup of tea, the hush before dawn, now gleams like a pearl in the mind. I carry many of those pearls. Some I've set down here one by one in the water's reflection. Others I hold quietly, tucked behind the folds of my thoughts to be looked upon only when the wind turns just right. And still I change. Even now, even here. You see, we are never too old to be shaped by gentleness. Steel forged me in my younger years, but it is the softness of evenings like this that finishes the work, that rounds the corners, that lets the heart become a vessel, not a shield. So I sit here, not because I am tired, but because I've learned the joy of stopping, of letting the world come to me, of allowing the night to speak its slower tongue. My voice, as you hear it now, has grown quieter through the seasons, not weaker, just slower, more deliberate. Like water over stone, it's taken years to learn the difference. And if you should ever wonder who I am, know this. I am no longer defined by where I ride or what I've won. I am simply the one who chose to return to this dock, to this light, to this moment, to you. So let us sit together, as friends do, not in search of story, but in the comfort of its telling. Let the air cool. Let the lake hum, let the past drift by like mist. Tonight we are only what we need to be, two souls in stillness, and that is more than enough. You know, my friend, I once made myself a promise, not a loud one, not the kind that echoes from ramparts or is sealed with wax and heraldry. No, it was softer than that, spoken only to the night, and perhaps to this lake, a quiet vow made beneath an amber sky as the last apples were gathered and the air smelled of distant smoke and ripe earth. I told myself I would return here to this dock after the harvest season, just once more, just to sit. It wasn't a grand occasion. There were no banners or blessings, just a quiet evening many years ago now, when I paused here while traveling from one village to the next. The world was louder then, full of errands and obligations, full of reasons to be elsewhere. But that night, this place, it asked nothing of me, and I remember thinking, one day when the road no longer pulls at my heels, I'll come back, just to be here again, just to listen. Funny how such a small promise can stretch across the years like a thread, unbroken. I never wrote it down, never told another soul, but still, it waited, nestled in the corners of my mind like a stone at the bottom of a stream, never in the way but always there. And tonight, at long last, I set returned. The harvest seasons came and went again and again. I passed through towns, slept beneath oaks, shared bread with strangers and counsel with kings. And yet this promise, it never frayed. It stayed quiet, but steady, like the rhythm of oars in water just beneath everything else. Some might call it trivial. Simple thing, who remembers a single vow spoken to no one, in the hush of dusk. But to me, it mattered, because keeping it reminded me of something I hadn't known how to name until I'd aged into the quiet of my bones. That some promises are made, not out of duty, but out of hope. You see, I didn't make that vow expecting a reward or a witness. It spesses. I made it as a way to mark what mattered, a moment of stillness, a breath drawn deep by the lake's edge, a feeling that in all the rush and ache of the world, there could be a place set aside for calm. And now, sitting here beside you, with the lantern glowing low and the water moving slow as thought itself, I realize it wasn't the place I was promising to return to. It was the version of myself I'd been in that quiet moment long ago. That man was weary. Yes, pulled between duties, stiff in the back from too much riding, but he'd paused. He'd seen the beauty of the ripples, the kindness in the wind, the way the sky bruised purple just before night, and he'd decided to remember it, to honor it, not with a monument, but with return. It's strange, isn't it, how memory works. The big events fade, names, dates, declarations, but the small things linger, a scent, a sound, the shape of the light on the water. And here I am, decades later, still following the trail those small things left for me. I don't know how many years have passed. I don't keep count the way I used to. There's no need. What matters is that I kept the promise, not perfectly, not promptly, but truly, and in keeping it, something in me softens. Because peace doesn't come from answers, I've learned. Not really, not the kind that lasts. Peace comes from honoring what's been quietly waiting within you, sometimes for a very long time. A place, a promise, a piece of yourself you once loved and swore you'd visit again, even if no one else ever knew. I think we all carry those quiet vows. Don't stitch you. Little things we whispered to ourselves on long walks or sleepless nights. I'll write that song someday. I'll sit beneath that tree again. I'll forgive that memory when I'm ready. They don't demand attention. They don't shout, but they wait. Oh, how they wait. And when we do return to them, when we finally stop and say, I remember, it's like stepping into a room that's been holding its breath for us, that sips what this lake feels like tonight. It hasn't changed much, you know. Maybe a few stones worn smoother, a few reeds grown taller, but the heart of it, no. That remains still and deep, reflective, welcoming. It hasn't asked why I waited so long. It hasn't scolded me for staying away. It just opened its arms and let me sit again. And in doing so, it reminded me that returning doesn't always mean retracing steps. Sometimes returning simply means being present fully, gently with what once gave you peace. So here I am, sword quiet, breath slow, beside a friend, beside the water. And I share this with you, not because I seek praise or recognition, but because you're here now. Because I want you to know that your own quiet promises matter too. Even the ones you've not spoken in years. Even the ones you think you've forgotten. They haven't forgotten you. They live in the rhythm of your days, in the way your heart slows when you smell autumn, or hear the crackle of old wood, or see the moon rise just so over still water. They are invitations, not obligations, and they wait not for perfection, but for presence. You don't have to keep every promise you've made. Life is too full, too shifting for that. But the ones you made to your own heart, in moments of softness, those are worth returning to. And if you're here now, truly here beside me, in this moment, then perhaps one of those promises has already begun to stir again. Let it. Let this be your return too. No need to speak it aloud. The lake will hear, the stars will mark it. And I'll sit beside you as you listen. For some quests are not made with boots and maps. Some are made in memory and fulfilled in silence. And tonight, we've both journeyed far enough. Let us rest here together, in the place where our quiet promises kept time for us, and let the water carry the rest. It's a lovely thing, isn't it? How the same place can offer something new each time you return to it, even if all appears unchanged. You and I, we sit on the very same dock. I first wandered upon many seasons ago. The boards beneath us are weathered. Yes, but they hold steady, as they always have. And yet each time I find myself here, something new reveals itself. Not in grand spectacle, mind you. No, nothing so demanding. But in the quietest gestures, in small discoveries that arrive only when one sits still long enough to see them. Take the rain, for instance. Not a storm, not thunder, just rain, light as breath, soft as silk. I remember one evening, not so long past, when the sky lowered itself gently upon the lake, and the rain fell in a hush. No wind, no rush, just the sound of water meeting water. Each drop made the surface shiver, the ripples folding into each other like lullabies being passed from one part of the lake to the next. It wasn't sorrowful. No, it was tender, like the sky needed to weep, but kindly. I watched it for what must have been an hour, said nothing, just listened. And then there was the fisherman. You'd have liked him, I think. A quiet man with a face lined by sun and salt. He used to hum when he cast his nets, not for himself, he said, but for the fish. They like the sound, he once told me. Lets them know I'm coming gently. It sounded foolish at first, singing to fish. But then one morning, I heard his voice rising over the mist, just a soft tune, wordless and worn, like a cradle song half forgotten. The lake seemed to lean in to hear it, and in that moment, I understood it wasn't for the fish. It was for him, for the stillness it gave him, for the kindness it wove through his hands. Some memories are like that. Not carved in stone, but caught in mist and melody. And then, there was that night of the moonbow. You've ever seen one? A rainbow spun in silver instead of color. You must have the right kind of moon, bright and full, and the lightest of mist to catch it. That night the lake was silent, breathless, and there, stretching across the water like a whisper made visible, was that arch of pale light. No one else saw it, just me. And I remember thinking, perhaps some things are meant only for those who wait, for those who sit in silence, for those who listen long enough to be trusted with wonder. That's why I return, not to chase the world, but to sit where wonder might find me again. You'd be surprised what the world will show you when you stop asking it to explain itself. There's comfort in routine, in coming back to the same dock, placing my hand on the same old rail, watching the same reeds sway. Some might call it repetition, but I find it sacred. It's in these familiar places that the smallest things speak the loudest. One day, I sat just where you're sitting now, and a goldfish leapt from the water. Not high, not with any drama, just a gentle arc beside the dock, as if it had something to say, and then it slipped beneath the surface again, as if it had said it. I don't know why it struck me, but for a moment I felt seen, not by the fish, no, but by the world itself, as if it was reminding me that even the smallest lives leave ripples, that even a flicker of gold in the dusk can hold meaning, if we're still enough to notice. Do so many spend their days chasing meaning in distant places, in heavy tomes or loud declarations? But here, by the lake, meaning arrives like mist. It doesn't need to be understood, only received. There is wisdom in small things. I whispered to myself that night, and I've whispered it many times since. The sound of frogs conversing low in the rushes, the scent of lichen on damp stone, the way the lantern's reflection trembles when the breeze shifts. These are not distractions from life. They are life, the kind of life that doesn't demand to be captured or measured, only felt. And you, dear one, you've chosen to sit with me. You've slowed your breath, let your thoughts settle like silt beneath calm water. That alone makes you kin to this place, to its quiet truths, its steady patience. Let others race, let others seek. You and I, we listen, and what we hear is enough. Come closer, dear one. There's no need to speak. Just listen a while, if that feels right to you. The night has grown deeper, and the stars more bold. The lake hasn't changed, but perhaps we have. Even in the silence, we shift. Sometimes without realizing it, sometimes without trying. That's the beauty of stillness. It allows the soul to move while the body rests. I've spent so many years in motion, riding, arranging, fixing, proving, but here, in this place, beneath this sky, I've come to understand something I never would have grasped with sword in hand. Stillness isn't what happens when nothing is left to do. It's what allows everything else to finally make sense. Look out at the lake, how it holds the moon in its arms without ever chasing it. The reflection floats gently on the water's skin, unbothered by the occasional ripple, undisturbed by passing breeze. There's no need for the lake to rise or strain. It simply receives, I've begun to wonder if that too is a kind of strength, the quiet strength of acceptance, the courage of calm. You see, the world beyond these reeds and trees, it moves so fast, always chasing, always demanding, always measuring, and I once moved with it, step for step, breath for breath. I thought that was the way, to keep up, to press on, to carry the heaviest load, and call it virtue. But the lake taught me otherwise. Time, I've come to believe, is not a straight line, it's a current. It doesn't run away from us. It doesn't rush ahead forgetting what came before. It circles, meanders, loops. It returns like the tide. Like a song you hum again without realizing. And here, in this stillness, I felt time settle, not as something lost or slipping, but as something held. You don't have to race it, my friend. You don't have to catch up. You're not behind, not late. You are here. And that is always enough. Let your shoulders loosen. Let the breath come slower now. There's no reason to guard anything here. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be unsure. You are allowed to set everything down and simply be. We're taught that rest must be earned, that peace must be deserved. But that is a story told by those too weary to remember the truth. Rest is a birthright. Peace is a place we return to, not because we've finished something, but because we've remembered what we are. And you, dear one, are not your pace, not your progress. You are the same kind of stillness that lives in the heart of this lake. Staunch is not the stagnant force, that it meant nothing was happening. But in the years that followed, I've come to see it as a teacher, a kind one, a wise one. You can learn a great deal when you stop filling the air with explanation. When I sat alone for the first time, truly alone without intention, without distraction, it startled me. The quiet was so complete, it felt like the world had stepped back to give me space. And in that space, memories returned, not just the grand ones, but the subtle, the texture of a wool blanket on a winter morning, the sound of distant bells on a foggy trail, the smile of a child who offered me half a plum and expected nothing in return. These are the pieces of peace. They do not announce themselves, they wait patiently, and in stillness they speak. Have you ever listened to the wind through old trees? It's not just sound, it's a language, one without words, yet full of meaning. It speaks of passing time, of shelter given freely, of roots holding fast, even when the world shakes. I've sat beneath such trees for hours, letting their wisdom pour over me in waves. And when I rose again, I wasn't different on the outside, but something within me had softened. That's what stillness does. It doesn't transform us like lightning. It cradles us like water, filling the spaces we didn't know were empty. Sometimes I think about all the things I tried to force, all the moments I rushed past, because I believed value was in the finishing, not the feeling. But this dock, this lake, they taught me how to stay, how to be fully present, to hear the sound of my own breathing, and not be alarmed by its slowness. Perhaps that is why I've shared this place with you, because I see in you the same search I once carried, not always outward, not even always conscious, but quiet and sincere, a longing for something deeper than completion, a longing for permission to pause, to be still, to just be. So let this place, this moment, this night, be that permission. Let the hush of the water soothe what's been overworked in you. Let the silence between my words hold more than the words themselves. Let the stars above remind you how long light can travel just to be seen. And let yourself believe, even just for now, that you are enough as you are without the next step, without the next task. You are allowed to rest. I once watched a leaf fall from a tree into this lake. It spun slowly, caught the last of the day's light, and drifted without hurry. It wasn't trying to land in a particular spot. It wasn't worried about the distance. It simply fell and floated and was. And I thought, if only I could learn to fall like that. And over time, I did. Stillness, after all, is not still. It holds movement of a different kind. The quiet realignment of the heart, the settling of dust in long neglected corners, the slow exhale of a truth finally acknowledged. You are here, you are safe, you are seen. Not for what you've done, not for how well you carry it all, but simply for being the soul beside me now by this lake, under this sky, sharing the same air. Let the water reflect your gentleness. Let the darkness cradle your tired edges. Let silence be the companion you didn't know you needed. And if your thoughts wander, let them. If they settle, all the better. There is no right way to rest, only the willingness to allow it. I'll be here, my dear friend. I'll stay beside you as the stars rise, as the wind slows, as the lantern glows softer. You needn't speak. Just breathe, and let this stillness become part of you. The wind has quieted now. Do you feel that, dear one? It's as though the whole world has drawn a long, contented breath, and now rests with us. Even the lantern's flame has softened, its glow no longer stretching, but simply pooling, warm and low, around our feet. The lake beneath us has grown so still, it feels as though time itself has curled up beside it and gone quiet. And still, you stir here. You've stayed longer than I thought you might, longer than most ever do. And that, well, that means more to me than I can properly say. It is one thing to speak into the silence, hoping someone hears, but it is another thing altogether to have someone stay and listen, not out of duty, but presence. And you have done just that. You've listened not only to my voice, but to the quiet between it. You've given this stillness the weight of company, the peace of knowing it's shared. I find I'm growing drowsy, not from weariness. Exactly. More like the kind of sleepiness that comes not when the body is taxed, but when the heart is at ease. It's been some time since I felt this particular kind of heaviness. The gentle kind, the kind that wraps itself around your limbs like soft wool, bidding you to let go, just a little more. You've given me that, dear friend. Your presence here has slowed something inside me that's been turning for far too long. And now, I think I shall let the quiet take over for a while. Still, before I slip into that lovely nothingness, I'd like to tell you this. Sometimes, the most sacred moments in a life are the quietest. They come not with triumph or music, but in the hush between heartbeats, a lantern flickering low, a shoulder brushing yours in stillness, the sound of water not moving. This, what we're sharing now, feels like one of those moments. You see, I've known many nights filled with noise, with revelry, with the clang of cups or the rasp of sharpening blades. But none of them settled into me quite like this one. This night holds its own kind of story, one not told with pages or songs, but with presence. And if there is such a thing as a good ending to a long day, it would feel like this. There's something deeply honest about sitting in silence beside someone. No words to prove, no mask to wear, just breath and light and closeness. It makes you wonder why we ever try to fill the spaces between us with so much sound. I've placed my hand on my sword, not out of habit, and certainly not out of need, only because tonight it feels more like memory than metal. I remember every place it has followed me, every vow it has stood beside. But here, in this soft moment, it is simply part of my story, not the reason for it. There is peace in that. There's peace in letting something once so heavy become light. Even the trees along the shore seem to have stilled. Their leaves no longer rustle, only rest. The frogs in the reeds have gone quiet, and the owls for once have tucked their calls behind a curtain of stars. You may notice it now, how even the ripples have ceased. The lake lies smooth as glass. If you lean forward just a bit, you can see our reflections, yours and mine mingling gently with the glow of the lantern light. We are not separate from the stillness. We are part of it. We belong to this quiet. Let it hold you if you wish. Let it carry the last of the day's weight from your shoulders. Let the thoughts slow, like drifting leaves on autumn water. Let them rise and fall without worry. You don't have to catch them. You don't even have to follow. Just be, just breathe. If there is one gift I wish to leave with you tonight, it is this, the knowledge that you don't need to do anything more to deserve rest. Not one more task. Not one more answer. Not one more gesture. You already have permission. You always have. So let the stillness become your shelter. Let it wrap around you like a favorite cloak, familiar and warm. I won't speak much longer. My eyes are growing heavy, and the stars seem to blink a little slower now. But I'll remain here, beside you, for as long as you wish, even if we speak no more tonight. Let's allow the water to keep our thoughts now. It knows how to hold them without judgment, without forgetting. It knows how to keep them safe, until we're ready to remember again. So close your eyes if they wish to close, or let them stay half-lidded, watching the last shimmer of light on the lake. It makes no difference. The night asks nothing of you. Neither do I. Only that you allow yourself this gift, a moment unmeasured, a rest well-earned, a stillness shared, and should you begin to drift into sleep, let it come gently. Let it carry you like a boat across quiet water, unmoored, unburdened, free. I'll be here, just a little longer, watching the lantern flicker, listening to the hush, keeping company with the peace we found together. The night has grown full and round, hasn't it? Listen to how gently it breathes now, like it too is falling asleep. The stars have softened in their brightness, resting on the surface of the lake like lanterns set afloat. Even the breeze has slowed, tucking itself into the reeds where the frogs no longer sing, but only sit in quiet witness. I can feel the hush settling in your shoulders now. You've let it in, the stillness. That's good. That's very good. You've walked beside me this whole way, through memory and story, through waterlight and soft ground. And now, here at the end of it, I want only to leave you with ease. Let everything fall away now. The day with all its doing, the thoughts that wandered in and out, the quiet work of the heart. You've done enough, dear one. Far more than enough. Tonight, I wish you dreams like water, clear, slow, and kind. Dreams that drift as softly as lilies on this lake. No urgency, no edge, just gentle tides carrying you inward and onward and away. And if your mind stirs, let it. Let it float above you like mist. There's no harm in a restless thought. Just watch it pass. the way we watched the clouds drift earlier, untethered and free. You stir safe here, completely. Sometimes I will stay a while longer, sitting just beside you, watching the stars continue their slow, noble march across the sky. There's peace in that, in witnessing the sky do what it has always done. No need to ask it why, it just moves. You've been such good company. I mean that. You've listened without needing to fill the air. And in that silence, something precious bloomed. Stillness shared is a kind of trust, and I feel it deeply. So nay, hum a little now if that's all right. Nothing grand. Just a quiet melody I've carried for many years. I don't recall where I first heard it. Perhaps from a hearth somewhere. Perhaps from the wind through the slats of an old cottage roof. But it calms me, and I hope it calms you too. Soft humming, low and slow, like a lullaby hummed half asleep. The sass. There you may. Let your breath grow long now. Let your body grow warm and heavy, like stones beneath sun-softened moss. The world can wait, and the dreams, those kind ones, they're close now. I can feel them brushing the edges of your thoughts already. So sleep, my friend. Sleep, knowing you've reached a quiet harbor. Sleep knowing I'll be here, watching the stars drift across the lake, just a little longer.